Penny Wong, for all her piety of, we're doing this for all the right reasons, it was very, very clear that this was all about generating consent for this AUKUS $370 billion sub-deal, as is everything, and all the propaganda and all the McCarthyism that's coming up right now, all the media activity around this subject. So she talked about averting war and maintaining peace and how we shape this region to reflect our national interests and how those interests lie in a region that operates by rules, standards and norms.
And that's the bit I was thinking
Not
of.
international
rules,
law.
standards and norms, not law.
No, exactly.
Not the equal application to everybody of agreed international law that we've signed on to, that the Americans have mostly signed on to. Everybody else has. No. Rules, our rules.
Yeah.
Or the Americans and British rules that we've made ourselves voluntarily the champion of. And norms, that is status quo, practice as usual. So we're the ones who get to go gallivanting around the world, rampaging around the world, destroying other people's countries.
That's right.
Because that's the norm.
We need to keep
and we need to keep it that way.
Right in that system.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. And she went on to say, this is about how we contribute to the regional balance of power, right? So it's about power, politics.
And again, listen, the words are important. That keeps the peace by shaping the region we want. In other words, if the region isn't shaped the way that we want, then what's the opposite of peace?
Yeah.
See,
we can't.
She's lying, but she's also not.
Yeah.
Like I said, this person is not stupid.
No.
This is a very dangerous sophist we're looking at here.
Then she says strategic competition is operating on several levels, domains that we might prefer to separate, economic, diplomatic, strategic, military, all interwoven and all framed by an intense contest of narratives, which is true in as far as it goes, that these domains are all interwoven, and we'll show that on the other side, the good side of developments, in a minute. But she clarified that she said we need to understand what is being competed for vis-a-vis this strategic competition, that it is more than great power rivalry and is in fact nothing less than a contest over the way our region and our world work.
World. Right. So she keeps going on multiple times in this speech. Oh, we don't want to force anyone to make a binary choice. We don't want to make a binary choice. But then saying that we already have, and you, the rest of the Pacific family, as they like to call it, you have to make the same choice or we're going to war.
Yeah. So
and we probably are anyway.
Now, Keating's response to this, in turn, was interesting, and because she was asked a question about, Keating, the first question that came up, obviously pre-planned after the press conference address.
Dorothy did so.
Yeah, she reduced it to a personal kind of attack, which is what, they prefer to do when they don't want to really take on the real issues. But Keating responded in turn saying, I didn't expect anything more than platitudes.
Yeah.
And, she didn't even attempt, he said, any kind of resolution or solution that would suit both sides, which is what diplomacy is about.
We didn't have any actual policy content at all besides blindly going on doing what we've been doing.
And he said that never before has a Labor government been so bereft of policy.
Yeah, or of policy ambition was the last phrase in that sentence, I remember. And his statement is available multiple places online, including Pearls and Irritations, the public policy journal that the former public service boss, John Menadue, administers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no ambition, they keep throwing as he said in his previous speech in March, just magically dropping the word sovereignty into every sentence like a magic talisman doesn't make it real.
No,
right?
That's right.
And so there's no ideas. Okay, if you want to talk about maintaining strategic balance, well, we had that up until 2011. It was very much imperfect, but we had that.
It was better than what we've got now.
Yeah, and it was Labor. Never forget this. It was Labor that destroyed that. It was the Julia Gillard Labor government, in which all of the current top leadership of this Labor government were either senior cabinet members or at least outer cabinet ministers, and a lot of these current crop of MPs were staffers to the people who were in charge back then, who aren't in the game anymore, at least officially. So, including Mr. Chalmers, the Treasurer, who's trying to find ways to pay for all this by cutting the guts out of everything that Labor says it stands for.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll just add to that picture with Keating's comments that we wrote up last week in the alert service the fact that in New Zealand there's been quite a strong reaction against AUKUS and the danger it represents for this region, with people from the former National Prime Minister Jim Bolger to Labor, Helen Clark, MPs from the Nationals and the Greens really strongly opposing AUKUS. So this is important, and this is going to build what Wong is dredging up here. It's all old balance of power politics. It's the old system, which, if she hasn't noticed, is dying on the vine. I mean, unless she's either in complete denial of reality or, perhaps she has been like that Spanish woman that's just been 500 days in a cave who came out and didn't even know there was a war in Ukraine.
She was in a cave in Russia.
Oh, okay. I don't know where the cave was. But anyway, that's what it seems like, because the complete denial of reality of how the world has changed, particularly since the sanctions on Russia have indicated to the majority of the world's nations and hosting the majority of the world's populations, known as the global majority or the global south, have realised, okay, we could be excluded from this financial and economic order at any point, and not just like Russia.
Yeah, and not just with the sanctions and all of that, which they've been doing since long before there was any suggestion of a war anywhere.
That's right.
And also on China, that the Trump administration was trying to do, and it just always blows up in their faces, but all they know how to do is double down. But seizing foreign currency reserves, we decided we don't like your government, so we'll declare someone else the president, Venezuela. This opposition leader, so-called, who actually wasn't and has never won an election to anything, he's the president now.
Yeah.
Juan Guaido, random Guaido, as some people called him. So, if you won't put him in charge of your government, we'll just seize all your foreign currency reserves and steal the funds of the accounts of your state oil company that we can get hold of in US banks because they're there trading oil on the world market in the US dollar, right? They did it to Afghanistan when they pulled out under Biden just not long ago. We'll confiscate all of your foreign currency reserves and starve your people because we love them so much. And everyone else around the world is going, if you're just going to go and do that, you can do it to anyone. Well, we're getting out of the system.
This is surprise. That's their declaration. This is our rules-based game, and you ain't changing the rules, and that's what Penny's defending here. But we want to talk about how a new order is taking shape around them, despite they can be kicking and screaming and stamping their feet like Rumpelstiltskin. This isn't real, but it's real and it's happening, and there's no winding the clock back. So just some updates on that vision for a new order, which really was highlighted this week or last week with the trip of the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to China, where he had bilateral meetings with President of China Xi Jinping, and a number of commercial and partnership agreements were signed. He also presided over the investiture of former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff at the New Development Bank, which is the bank of the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and an expanding array of countries that are joining that grouping. Lula made clear before he even went that Brazil wants to create a strong foreign policy front as an international protagonist in fighting for a fair and just economic order that weighs all countries equally. He said that the New Development Bank is a crucial part of that new financial order because currently nations are hostage to international lenders. And he talked about Argentina because while he was in Beijing, the US Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, was in Argentina telling them that they have to suffer short-term pain to get their financial house in order so that they can improve conditions for foreign investors, not for the people of the country.
And without getting into detail now, anyone who knows any of the history of Argentina and its debt defaults and all of the pain that's been put through by the IMF and the United States over the years, talk about waving a red flag to a bull. How stupid can these people get?
And so Lula said, he talked about we have to free countries from the shackles of these IMF conditionalities. No bank should be asphyxiating countries the way the IMF is doing to Argentina, holding a knife to Argentina's neck. He really made a pointed attack on this current framework, and then he brought it to a real crescendo point at a roundtable discussion of the New Development Bank where he said, look, every night I ask myself why all countries have to base their trade on the dollar. Why can't we do trade based on our own currencies? Who was it that decided that the dollar was the currency after the 1971 disappearance of the gold standard? So, of course, this brings to a head a huge issue which has been building, where in previous, I just want to run through a number of previous developments that it's all in the alert service. If you want more information, you can contact us for a copy of that. But these are just developments in the last few weeks, not comprehensive. But China and Brazil had already signed an agreement in recent weeks to trade in yuan using China's CIPS settlement system rather than the Western SWIFT settlement system. And since then, China's Industrial and Commercial Bank conducted the first cross-border yuan settlement transaction in Brazil via its local branch. So it's happening already.